Okay, so in this episode, I guess, or tutorial, I want to be going over what compression is. Because it seems like not everyone really knows what compression is because it's something, I guess you really take for granted because it's just there. So, what compression is it's basically the process of lessening the dynamic range between the loudest and the quietest parts of your audio signal or mix. What that means is it's taking the gap between the quietest sounds or the quietest wavelengths in your audio to the loudest ones, and it's kind of compressing it together, making that gap smaller between the two, so you have more of a equal mix. So it's not, you don't have these really really loud sounds and these really really quiet sounds just kind of going on top of each other and just kind of like canceling each other out, because you're going to be canceling those quieter sounds out if you have these really loud sounds. And so it's basically taking the peaks, which is the highest, and the troughs, which is the low parts under the equal line, and it just kind of pushes them or compresses them together so you have an equal sound pretty much. So there are actually four different main types of compression. So the first one is called VCA compression, and what that stands for is voltage amplifier compressor. And basically, this is used with an integrated circuit that gives you very, very precise control compared to the other ones. And it makes it so it doesn't suffer from as many effects like distortion or something like that. So the second type of compression is OPTO compression, which is just optical compression, which is basically light sensitive circuits that control the amount of compression instead of having different type of circuit. Basically, what these will do is they'll make it react a little bit slower than other versions of compression, but that's not bad all the time, at least. You might, if you have some sort of vocals that you don't want necessarily to always be completely equal throughout the whole audio signal, you're going to want something that's a little bit slower. So the third type of compression is called FET compression, or field effect compression. And basically what that is doing is it uses transistors to emulate a valve sound. And so you get a higher signal to noise ratio, if that makes sense. So basically what you're doing is you're making that signal higher for your ratio, which I'll go over what the ratio is in the next section of this. So the last type of compression that I'll be going over is the fourth one, and it's called valve compression. All valve compression is, it's basically it's kind of the same thing as an FET compression. It uses valves, but it uses the valves to amplify the circuit instead of actually create the sound. It just amplifies what's already there. So there are quite a few different types of controls for compression. So the first one I want to go over is the threshold, which is kind of an important one. Basically, what the threshold is, it's how loud the signal has to be before you can apply the compression, or before it automatically will be applied, which basically means that there's a certain decibel before the compressor activates to start the compression. And basically, what that's used for is a few different things, which is the second thing I want to go over is the ratio. What the ratio is, it's how much compression is applied. But basically, how it works is, for example, if you had a ratio of 10 to 1, that means that the input has to cross higher than the threshold by 10 decibels. And then once that threshold is crossed, the output will be increased by the second number, which in this case was 1 decibel. So it will increase by 1 decibel. The third type I want to go over is the attack, which is pretty simple. The attack is just how quickly the compressor starts to work. So if you want to gradually kind of go up and start to work, you can set it that way, or you can make it just immediately, just full on start setting the decibels how it wants. So another one that I want to go over is the release, which is how soon after your signal dips below the threshold that the compressor stops. Because once it goes under the threshold again, you don't want it to keep compressing, or else you're gonna have it's gonna have your decibels, and then once it goes under that threshold, if it didn't stop, it would just keep going, and it would actually dip and make the signal worse because you'd be having your threshold in one spot and then under your threshold in the second spot. So basically, the release is just how when you want it to stop, which is pretty simple, I guess. And then the next one is the knee, which is actually how the compressor reacts to the signal once the threshold is passed. So basically, if you have a hard knee, it's going to right away hit that compressor on, and it's going to start compressing the signal. If you have a soft knee, you're going to be doing it a little bit more gently and kind of gradually go up as the threshold is passed. And then that leads us to the last two, which are the make-up gain, which allows you to boost your compressed signal. So if you want to change the signal, you can actually boost it again pretty significantly, actually. And then the last one is the output. All the output does is allowing you to boost the level of the signal from the output. So from the compressor instead of to the compressor, if that makes sense, I guess. Makeup gain and output kind of do somewhat of the same thing, but the output's actually doing the signal itself. The makeup gain is more boosting the compressor signal. So that's actually everything I wanted to go over on compression and compressors right now. Maybe I'll do another tutorial later where I explain how you're going to be setting that up in different things, like Studio 1.3 is one of my favorite things to use right now, or GarageBand or Logic or something like that. But for now, that's all I want to say. I will actually leave a link in the description to a really, really good source I found on just some of this basic information, and also there's a thing on how to set your compressor up if you want to do that too. It's universal for built-in compressors that are built into your DAW and a physical compressor. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this little what is compression video. And if you want me to do more of these things, leave a comment below and don't forget to subscribe.